It doesn't, I see
There
something.
we go.
Oh, there it is.
It
Time
says
delay.
transcript. There you go, recording.
Okay, so it's now 10:03 and we'll call the meeting to order. So since we don't have a quorum of the board right now, we're going to skip over the minutes. But if we could talk next about our outstanding, audit reports. Do we have anybody from Danbury or it was East Lyme here?
Yes, I see Danbury is with us, the mayor.
The mayor.
And his finance director.
And you're both pretty new to the positions, huh?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, welcome. So where do we stand with the 21 audit?
So the 21 audit, the draft is complete. We sent a copy up to Kimberly and Bill. Scott Bassett is also on here. He was waiting for a report from Markham on some other work they were doing. He received the final report yesterday, and so that should be moving forward. And we expect to have the final on April 30th.
Okay. Okay. So you started anything on the 22 audit yet?
22, the auditors have not been in on that, but we are obviously, getting our records together on that, preparing for them. And he has, Scott, I don't want to talk to you, but I believe you have the team assigned for May and June to get that done. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I'll just jump in. We did receive a report from an outside firm last night about 5 o'clock for some detailed procedures that they performed. Now internally, we have to, it's a 50-page report with a lot of work done, very comprehensive. We have to go through that process internally. I know everybody's goal here is April 30th, but just being transparent, there's some things that I just cannot control within the firm of our size. So we're going through that process right now. As I said in March, we're 95% complete with that audit, with the draft being completed, but we do have to dot our I's, cross our T's, and see if anything in that report heightens our risk, right? That's my job, to go through that and make sure that we're comfortable issuing that our opinion. So April 30th is the goal, but I just don't want to, I want to be transparent. Some things are out of my control. It's a busy time of year. And the second part of it, we have staff scheduled this week through June 30th to get both 21 and 22 complete. I think that's doable. Obviously, Dan and I spoke about some of the issues with 2022, especially GASB 87, jumping on that and getting that together as we go through this process. But I won't speak to the report that Markham issued. I'll leave that up to the city, but we'll go through that process and analyze some of their results then. So that's where we are. I do not expect any material significant changes to the report as Dan presented to OPM. So I believe those numbers are very, very solid based on the audit work that we've done. But again, we have a process, and we received the report last night at 5 o'clock. So now it goes through our quality control and to see if we have to do any other additional procedures on the 2021 audit. So that's where RSM stands right now.
Okay, so my next question would be, have the issues that caused such a significant delay in completing the 21 issue been addressed? And will you be able to, moving forward, obviously you're already several months behind with the 22 audit. What are the prospects of the 23 audit being done on time?
So I talked to the Board of Education today to make sure that they're ready to roll on 22. He is going to bring in I'll call her a consultant. It was the former assistant. He's used her before, so he's going to bring her in again to help get the 22 audit done. because his assistant recently left. The former one is actually a little more familiar, so it should actually be quicker. And on our side, really the additional work that Markham had to do obviously will not happen again. So I don't see those items holding us up.
Okay. Well, we hope not. Right, Becky, do you have any questions?
No, I don't, Kate.
Mike?
No, I'm good. We'll just wait to see the next time around how things have progressed when we meet.
Kim?
Yes, I'm wondering if you have the proper staffing level within your town to make sure that you can get caught up and or if you have to bring in an additional consultant to get caught up. I think it would be very advantageous for the city to make that investment right now. But I wanted to make sure that since you have a history of still running late with your audits, it always tends to wonder if you have the proper staffing.
We are staffing up. John Kleinhans here from the mayor's office will also be assisting us with that. So stepping in for now until we get our assistant director of finance. And even if we had, a new assistant tomorrow, obviously a learning curve there. So John's been here for a while, but that will certainly help.
Kimberly, if I may, this is Mayor Dean Esposito.
Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate your comment, and I agree 100%. Our goal is to really evaluate, and that's why we went into an audit, as I said in the last meeting. I'm a year and a half in, but I did a forensic audit to ensure that everything was up to snuff and on par, which thank God it appears to be. But obviously with the staffing, this is the main goal, right, is to keep finance up and running. We ran into a few snags with the education side. As Dan said, they switched out their director at least 2 or 3 times in the last couple of years. So my focus and my administration's focus to get finance 100% up to snuff. John Kleinhans is going to be able to oversee that from my office as of right now, but we already have in the works with HR some staff to fill some open spots and some replacements that unfortunately we had some key people that have retired as well. So those people are actually coming back in and helping us out, which is a big plus. But I'd like to reassure you, and I think we're on the same path. Mindset is that the goal here is to build finance to the max, because that's the key position in the city as far as I'm concerned. Besides police and fire, finance runs the whole show. We all know that. So our commitment is 100% to finance. And I know that we've been delayed in the past, and we could sit here and throw out a whole bunch of different excuses, but you guys heard them all. But I just want to thank you all very much for your patience, giving us a little bit of leeway to get this stuff straightened out. And I think once we get the 21 in, and then we'll kick out to 22 pretty quickly, it sounds like, with Scott and those, and then focus on 23. So I just want to make a quick little statement. Thank you for your efforts, and I want to thank my staff as well, because they've been working night and day to get this done.
So going forward in 23-24, we built into the proposed budget, splitting out the assistant director of finance from risk management. I used to have to do both. So the assistant finance director will be focused on finance. We're also adding a grants unit, and it sounds like that would be adding work to our office, but what we're actually doing is pulling the grants away from the payroll coordinator, who obviously is 80% of our budget being payroll, will help on the finance side. So she'll just be focused on, or he or she will be focused on payroll. And then our senior accountant, who's working on the grants now, will again be focused on the regular finance operations instead of being split between grants and finance. So going forward, assuming that this budget passes as proposed, we'll be in much better shape going forward.
That sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody from East Line with us?
Yes.
Hello, I'm the town's finance
Sure.
director, Kevin Gervais,
Hi, Kevin.
and we might
How you
have,
doing with it? You owe us a single audit from,
21,
yeah.
correct. So I've been in communications with our auditor. I believe one of them's on the call, Dave Hansen and Ron Nosek. So I've been in communications with them, and we're hoping to have it finalized. They have all the information. It's just in the QC, their quality control team right now. So I'm not sure if either of them are on the call. If they are, maybe they could speak to that. But we were hoping to have it filed sometime in the next couple weeks here. Our initial goal was the 28th of April, but that's a week out. So I'm not sure how realistic 1 week is. So it might be, 2 or 3 weeks. But if Ron or Dave are on the call here, I'll let them speak. Nope. And I don't think they're on the call. So
What about your 22 audit?
so our 22 audit, we are hoping to have the auditors in here the 2nd and 3rd week of May to begin field work. So we're hoping to have that turned around in a couple months as well.
You kind of late every year. Are we making any progress on getting it so that you will be filing on time in the future?
So I don't know if the committee's aware, but I came on in the first week of September of this year. So I recognize in the past there was a history of filing late. So it's my goal to get us on track and, not have to file extensions and file, on time. I'm not sure how realistic it is for fiscal year 23, just with, getting 22 done. But I mean, I think we're right there. We are hiring a deputy finance director. The position is on the GFOA website and the CCM website. So if anyone is looking for a job, we're open for a couple more days there. So yeah, we're looking to expand the finance department, and the town recognizes there's a need for an additional staffing in the finance office, and they've given me a deputy director right now. So we're hoping to expand the size of the team.
Okay. Becky, do you have any questions? Mike?
Kevin, as was mentioned actually on the earlier discussion, GASB 87, if that area isn't covered, that could cause some delays with your 2022 audit. Have you started to engage with the audit firm to either utilize their services or developing a plan to cover the reporting requirements for GASB 87?
So I have not really talked at length with the audit firm, but we are hiring a finance director from another town to come in and kind of help me out, build up our financial statements a little bit. So she's going to be starting here in the next couple weeks. So, there's a few things I want to go over with her. The leasing's a big one. Any new, standards that are out, and then just some reports I think we're going to add to our financial statements, like changes in fund balance for capital projects, things like that. I just want some help in building up these statements a little bit.
Okay.
Kim?
Yeah, I would definitely look at your org chart and make sure that you have the proper staffing. And if you don't, that I would highly encourage you that you get the proper staffing for your town and the size of your town. It sounds to me, based on your history, that you are not, and that therefore you're going to constantly lag behind. I think that our chairwoman brought to your attention the new legislation that is out there, and you're going to become a prime candidate for the MFAC oversight, and if you do not get your financials done in a timely manner. So I would highly encourage that you do that now, even if it means you have to bring in a consultant to help you get that done. That's my advice. Unless you like this group.
Yeah, yeah.
We're friendly. We're a friendly group.
But yeah, my goal is to, obviously, we don't want to file any more extensions. We want to file on time and be on, in good standing.
I would think so too.
So I see Tony has arrived. We're talking to East Lyme. They're one of our people who've been late with their audit reports. So I don't know if you had any questions, Tony. You're muted. Okay, no questions from Tony. Okay. All right, Kevin, thank you for coming, and let's get that stuff in on time.
All right.
All right. Brooklyn is next on our list.
Maybe before you leave this, Kate, and start with Brooklyn, we did enclose the outstanding reports just to give a heads up on what's to come for FY22.
I saw the numbers, but not.
Yeah. That's all we have. We didn't give the
Okay.
names, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody realized that that was in the packet. Bill had provided that for this group of the number of reports that we've already received from FY22 being 133, and the number that were outstanding as of the 13th is 36, and many of those players are here today.
How does that compare, the 36 overall? How does that compare to prior years?
Bill, can you comment on that?
I think in regards to 21, it's around the same, but in earlier years prior to 21,
We were in better shape.
we had a much better submission rate.
How much of it do you think is related to 87, the leases?
I don't. From what we've been hearing, it's just staffing issues most of the time. It appears that's been, whether it's at the audit firms or at the municipalities themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the issues with the audit firms is that there are fewer and fewer that do government work. Can refresh me, how many late audits before they get kicked up to the MARB?
To the not to the MARB, it will be MFAC first for the late, and then then MFAC is where we will all start, and then if the committee then decides that we have other, grueling issues that we need to then the next level would be the MARB.
Okay. All right. All right. So, who do we have? I see they're in my Brooklyn. We have our first selectman and finance director.
Yes.
First selectman and finance director.
Good morning. How are you? Nice to see you again.
Same.
We love you guys. That's what we're supposed to say, I guess. Right?
Well, you guys are doing good work, so
You
keep
are,
up that good work, and let's hear the great news that you have.
Well, unfortunately, our audit is still not complete as of for 2022. We are on that list. We are expected to be done by the end of the month. So the auditors we met with, and just to confirm what Bill had said, is they claim that it's staffing on their part. So they're even concerned already about next year's, but hopefully we can provide, we've set our policies and procedures in place to help clean up a lot of the journal entries that they do on our behalf, that they've historically been doing on our behalf, so that there's less of that and more clean test runs and things like that for them. That's our hope for that.
We met with the auditor a week or two ago because we were concerned about being late, and he assured us that it wasn't all our fault. A lot of it was on them. And he's also telling us that he can't guarantee us to do it in time next year, and suggested that we might want to go out for bid for auditors, which, I mean, we like our auditor. We don't want to go out, and I don't know if we'll be in better shape if we do go out to bid. But he has said, compared to when we started, we're getting a lot of more information without him pulling it out of us. So he's pleased with our progress, but it seems to be not all us, a staffing issue, and their office is holding us up too. And he did mention 120 towns applied for extension this year, so that doesn't make it any better, but at least we're part of a group.
But we are working on making sure our policies and procedures to clear up those issues are done. I know that we had discussed last month that WPCA was one of the main items on our list, and that we have currently absorbed all of WPCA's financials.
Fantastic.
So we're still working through that, though. We don't have a clear grasp on it because, when it comes in, we have to follow the story back to make sure that everything is clean and clear. But
we absorbed it. We absorbed some issues too.
Yeah, but that's always. But we're going to work through those, and having better eyes on that. I think that'll be an easier task for us and for the auditors, having everything be in-house. They did hire a new board, so they have some new players on that too that are more involved and more transparent. So I think we're going to work well together to get that in a really good shape for next year's budget, next year's audit. So that's good news. And the only other thing that I had on my notes was that you had questioned last meeting the dog fund revenue, and I didn't have the exact answer, but I remembered after the meeting that the town clerk enveloped it. We don't have a separate line for it, so it's in her revenue line. That's why it reduced, because we had moved it from its own line to just her fund.
Where do you stand with your budget process for next fiscal year?
So we're presenting tonight to the Board of Finance as it stands. And then they're going to review, and I'm not sure if they have meetings set for when that will be, but I think that they're expected to go to town meeting by the end of May.
Okay. All right. Becky, do you have any questions?
No, I don't, Kate.
Okay, Mike?
I'm good.
Diane, I understand you joined us?
Yep, I just got here, so I'm good. Thank
Okay.
you.
Tony?
I'm all set, thank you.
Okay, Kim?
I think that they've made a lot of great progress, and I'm really excited to hear about the, as you mentioned in the last meeting, about the WPCA and that coming under the town. I know that there'll be work there, but I'm really happy to hear that. The only other item I had was I see that you continued. Are all your audit findings considered now pretty much addressed, or I know that was one lingering, and I know that we were looking for clarity on other items, but I'm not sure that we ever heard that.
I know that we have been working on addressing, I think one of the other major, I can't remember all of them, I apologize, but I know one of the other major ones was our pooled cash fund. And I know that we're definitely addressing that. We've started separating out some larger accounts so that they are more clear, and only keeping pooled some smaller accounts that are easier to manage.
Okay.
That's still a work in process, but we are moving towards that for the end of this fiscal year, to be clear.
Okay. That's it. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you. Derby.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, Mayor Zekin here.
Hi, Mayor. So I see that I saw the ad on the GFOA website for the finance director. Let's hope that you can get that going. Where do you stand with your human resources director? Have you advertised that yet?
This is Walt Mayhew, the chief of staff. We have a person who is currently serving as the HR director. She's just part-time. So the mayor has extended to her full-time status at the current hourly rate that she's been paying, which according to the Corporation Council was in his prerogative to do. and she's expected to start next Monday. That has not been met with pleasure from the alderman or the Board of Apportionment and Taxation, contrary to your very nice letter that you wrote recommending that that be done.
Okay.
Why?
I wish I could give you an honest and intelligent reason for that.
Okay. Looking through some of your numbers, I had a couple questions. Your tax collection, according to the reports you filed, looked like about 95% so far this year, fiscal 23.
We're getting some backlash from the mayor.
Yeah. What was your budgeted collection rate for fiscal 23?
99%.
Okay, so if you're at 95 now, what are what are your expectations?
We think we're going to come in fairly close. We have some back taxes that have been collected. We have some other issues that we're trying to move forward with for the rest of the collection season.
Okay. Also looking at your motor vehicle supplemental, that seems way off as well. Maybe offset by your transition motor vehicle tax, but can you explain to me what's happening there?
The motor vehicle supplement we take directly from the assessor. The new year, I can explain to you the calculations because I went over it with her based upon the report that you're looking at there. And so what she did for the current year is she went back, excluded that one outrageous year where we had $1 million come in, and then she re-averaged it. So the collection rate expected for supplemental this year has been substantially lowered, but I don't have a good explanation for the reason there.
Okay. I also noticed you have questions around your workers' comp. Are you self-insured for workers' comp?
Yes.
Okay. Have you considered a separate fund for workers' comp rather than running it through the general fund?
We had made a proposal to the Board of Aldermen to consider the implementation of non-lapsing funds for a number of things, and they were passed through the auditor for his feedback and approval before they were submitted. One of those was an insurance reserve. One of those was for, I don't remember what they are off the top of my head. There were 3 of them. And we also now are looking to include a fund that would be established under the city's financial control, but for the Board of Education to help with their expenses when it comes to special education. Dr. Conway has articulated that need. We agree that there's a need. We would just like to see the fund be administered through the finance department, which we think is the best place for it. The board refused to even consider the request for those types of funds and deleted it from the agenda. We will be going back, and just so you know, we will be going back in either May or June with further requests for those kinds of things. One of the things that got us into the involvement with MFAC was a situation where there were no reserves in the insurance, and we had a crazy year for claims, and we went over the claims that were budgeted by over $1 million. Anybody who understands even the basics of finance knows that you need to have reserve accounts for those kinds of situations, and that needs to be funded on a regular basis as part of the municipal budget. So we're going to go back. We're going to try again.
In the amounts that you budget for workers' comp, I noticed that your stop loss premiums were well over budget. Go and find them again. Do you have an actuary evaluate the amounts that you are proposing for your budget for your self-insured?
I believe the numbers that we use come directly from our agent based upon the claims experience and the reporting that they run on it.
I have just one more question, then I'll move on to the other members. Your private duty, you run it through your general fund for the police. Do you ever reconcile the revenue with the expenses to make sure that you are not running at a loss?
Yes, and the new municipal system that we've just signed on for will give us a better ability to do that.
Yeah, separate fund would be a good idea.
Mhm.
All right, Becky? Do you have any
I will
questions?
just follow up on something that Kate mentioned a moment ago, which is an actuary to assist you with the workers' comp. I highly recommend that you consult with an actuary with respect not only to the current claims, but to establishing a funding policy to build up funds if your elected officials will agree to set up a fund. But there is a discipline around that, and it's not something that is necessarily coming from the people who are administering the claims. You do need an actuary.
Okay, we have an actuary that we use for other things. We'll be happy to reach out to him and see what he can provide.
It wouldn't be a pension actuary such as myself. I'm not qualified to do that work. But it is a specialty area within the actuarial field, and there are actuaries out there who work with municipalities on self-insured risks like workers' comp.
Okay, awesome. If you would send us a list of those or a way that we could begin to look at how we could engage those, that would be very helpful.
Okay. Kim, I can coordinate that with you.
Yeah, thank you.
Mike?
If we could just spend a couple minutes on the new financial system. It looks like you had your first conversion meeting earlier this week.
We postponed that until tomorrow at 10.
Okay. Is the intent to I guess implement, do the conversion for July 1st?
Yes, we have been told and they have guaranteed that the conversion will be in the 45-day range and that they will be up and running active on July 1.
Okay. Will that include payroll or is that done differently?
No, payroll is an outside service right now. We didn't want to take that on top of everything else to do the conversion.
Yeah, understood. Okay. And the Board of Ed, will they be converted onto the system or are they going to stay on their own?
Currently, they're on their own and there are no plans to change that.
Okay.
Okay. Diane?
I have no questions. You covered everything, Kate. Thank you.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Tony?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. The first, I just wanted to follow up on the private duty. So do you, I'm assuming you bill for private duty? And are you good on your receivables or do you have any outstanding receivables on that?
Currently, the department actually creates the bills for it, and then they send the information over to us. That's one of the things we want to look to integrate into the new system so that it's totally in-house. But the receivables, yes, the receivables are right on.
I know it's sometimes if you lose track of those, they're sometimes hard to.
No, exactly right, and that's one of those drawbacks with the system that we have now being manual. There's a lag.
Okay, my other question was, as part of my duties here, I give our boards a monthly update on our operations for the current year, and including the encumbrances and anticipated revenue shortfalls or surpluses and expenditures. Do you have someone who does that for your board, and how does your operations look for the current year? I'm not sure if you have someone spending the kind of time looking through, making sure that that there are no issues that may be out there that you may not be aware of.
Yeah, the deputy finance director right now prepares a monthly appropriation summary, which includes both revenue and expense that's provided to the boat. And she's the one who would then say if there's issues that need to be dealt with and how they would be dealt with.
So how does it look so far for 23? Are there any anticipated issues that you're aware of, or do you think you'll be on budget?
Nance?
Right now, knock on wood, everything looks good, but something can always pop up that hasn't been brought to my attention yet. I mean, we're catching a lot of things that are prior year issues that we're clearing up. So right now we are on target to be on budget. But again, I have to say, there could always be something.
The only caveat I would add to that is that because of some unpaid bills from prior years, and again, this is a policy issue that should have been addressed previously from the previous finance director. We have had to go back and spend a large sum of the working balance paying off bills that were just not paid previously. So our working balance now is down substantially from where it normally is.
And that's why I was wondering about the encumbrances, because then all of a sudden you get a bill, on your desk that you didn't have encumbered and from the prior year, and that could be a problem.
It is. It's depleted the working balance down. I think we're somewhere around $30,000 left to limp through the rest of the year.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
There is one other thing to add to that is the culture here was not using purchase orders properly. So I'm training the department heads that they need the purchase order before they order the stuff. So hopefully that'll eliminate a lot of that.
Sometimes that culture change could be hard to reverse, so.
Extremely.
When you refer to the working balance, are you referring to your fund balance?
No.
Okay.
There's a line item that's established in the regular municipal budget.
Contingency account?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. All right, thank you. Sorry for interrupting, Tony.
That's okay. I'm finished. Thank you.
Okay. Kim.
Yes. Couple of things. In your memo, I think that I would be looking for a little bit more information. One, I don't think it's necessary to repeat the prior discussions about your discussion with the Board of Ed, because I think that that's a done deal. And I will say that I was not supportive of that based on your infrastructure in your financial area needing so much work. So I was not supportive of doing the combination. That now, I'm not saying I wouldn't be supportive of that in other towns or other cities, but in Derby's situation, I would not be supportive of that. So I've asked a few times for an organizational chart for the city, at least from the financial area, whether it's talking about payroll. I want to know all of the finances and understanding the positions that you have and what is filled, what is not filled. And because you're still running behind, and it looks to me like I'm not sure that you're funding or have all of the proper positions that are needed. Like, do you have a purchasing person overseeing that? As I hear your deputy is talking about that, it seems to me like you might need somebody overseeing the purchasing area, which would be a cost benefit for you if you had somebody in that area.
We have two financial assistants. One covers primarily payroll. The other one covers primarily purchasing. They are cross-trained. In addition to that, we have the deputy finance director who right now is overseeing the entire department. And then budgetarily, we have the finance director. So that's it. We have 4 people in the office according to the budget. And we are not pursuing the thing with the school department at this time. And I apologize. I thought we took that out of the report.
No, it continued as if it was this, something that you wish still was occurring, and okay. And so you do not have a human resource person as of yet, right? That position has.
Starts
you didn't post. It's internal. It's internal. You did not go out. You took somebody that you brought in as a part-time person?
Correct.
It wasn't a position that was posted out.
No. The person who is on staff is a 30-year veteran in human resources, currently employed by another municipality and has an outstanding record with the administration.
And they're moving from part-time with you to full-time?
Yes,
And so they're leaving their other position?
correct.
Okay.
And on your report out for the ARPA, how much money, you just mentioned that it was working well, but you didn't say how much money you have taken in and how much money you have spent to date.
That number is up and down because of different
Can you please provide us with a report, please?
of what's been taken in and what's been expended.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
And do you have a plan of what you're doing with those funds?
The numbers are, I can tell you what's there. I can tell you what's been spent. I can tell you what's been committed to. But like, for example, we were using $500,000 as the city's contribution to a grant that we had applied to because we were looking to have make some modifications to a parking garage. That's since the grant was denied, so that money will be coming back. So those are like the contingent kind of things.
Yeah, if you could just give us a monthly report, that would be very helpful.
Yep.
One other question on the financial system. Who else is using this financial system? I'm sorry, I only know about Munis, so I'm not very worldly in this as far as towns, and I would look to my colleagues that are experts. Are you familiar with this system, this quality data services? Any of my colleagues?
For tax and assessment, but not for financials.
We use them for tax and assessment also, but not for financials.
Oh boy.
Same here.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and same here, right? Are there other towns that where they do have financials implemented?
Yes, throughout Massachusetts and Rhode Island.
You know, if we could go back for a minute to the whole purchase order and the late bills and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a formal evaluation process with your department heads where their failure to follow proper procedure is discussed with them and considered in their compensation?
No.
Okay, so, you know, with getting a new HR person on board, this experienced person, I really think you need a formal evaluation process because you need to hold people accountable. And one of the ways to do that is by impacting their compensation. If they don't, you know, perform properly in terms of their budget responsibilities and administrative duties, that should be factored into how big a raise they get. Okay.
You do if it's an elected official.
If it's an elected official, you know, you're kind of stuck.
Yeah, that's one of our problems.
Yeah, but I can't imagine that they're all elected. All right, does anybody else have any questions?
Kate, are we going to cover the audit status? Looks like the auditor is on the call.
Yeah, that would be great.
So is that for
Yeah.
me, guys?
I'll jump in. This is John Accavallo, City Auditor. We've just received a number of documents that we needed. We still are in the process of assisting in reconciliation of the Board of Education. It's a little bit difficult because of the accounts are commingled, but we're working through it. But other than that, I think that we're in good shape. If we have a very good week and a half, we would be ready to issue by the end of April, hopefully. But if something pops up that's outside of our control, I can't really tell you about that. But we're going to be working toward trying to wrap up by April 30th.
Okay.
Even getting through quality control, that must mean you have a draft if you're going to do that through April 30th. I've never seen that kind of work before.
Yeah, I mean, I'm I do a lot of the field work, and I'm a working partner.
Wow.
So we're in the field, but we've been drafting areas as we complete them.
Mhm.
So if we finish a section, we draft that area of the report.
Okay.
And are you seeing any major compliance issues or findings for your management report at this point?
Well, I mean, what happens, I don't know if we can add anything more than we've already added to our original report that's carried over from one year to the next. The biggest issues are the simplest issues to fix, but you don't have a finance director, and you have key turnover in personnel. So those are the biggest issues. We're dealing with maybe the fourth finance director in maybe 6 years on the city side, in every 3 or 4 different business managers, over the time. They did have a period of time where they had the same individual, but we have a new business manager that we're dealing with on the Board of Ed. So keeping key personnel, at least from a level of where it doesn't impact procedures, is critical, and something that will be addressed in the report.
Okay. Thank you.
One other thing, if I could piggyback, Kate.
Absolutely.
John, could you please tell us, so are you anticipating that the number of audit findings that were there last year are going to repeat this year? I had assumed they would, just because you had a vacancy in the finance director for the entire year.
Yeah, well, the prior finance director did do a lot of different things, so I think that one of the most important things was that I believe that the city's up to date with bank reconciliations. So that kind of helps out taking care of a lot of different other things, having your monthly reporting that's reliable, going to the board, all good things. But most of the findings will be, repeat findings. To speak about the reserves that you were talking about earlier, there are reservations of fund balance that were set up, but there aren't separate funds as they relate to workers' comp. That was discussed numerous times with the board. The former finance director tried to get that pushed through, but didn't have any success with it. Workers' comp is one of their biggest fluctuations from year to year. You can't do anything. I don't care if you have an actuary or not. I mean, you can't put your thumb on it.
Right.
Either it's a home run or a strikeout.
And that's one, it could interrupt you, for the mayor and Mr. Mayhew, to get that out of your general fund and to get it funded on a stable basis will really benefit your taxes. That if you can remove that from the general fund and have your operating expenses stay more stable and fund this on a proper basis, it will benefit your taxpayers. It's really, you really need to look at doing that. Sorry for interrupting, John.
That's okay. Other than that, we're working with the business manager to try to wrap this stuff up that we need to. The city side is significantly completed, almost just to the point where the Board of Ed operational stuff will affect the city's lines. The city audit is the city side is pretty much completed.
Okay. So, Kim and Bill, I think not just with Derby, but with all these communities, it would be really helpful if we could, for each meeting, have a report from the community on the audit comments from their most recent audit and the status, just on an ongoing basis, so we can track these things.
Yeah, that was a requirement that they were supposed to be providing that. And actually, we built the form for them and filled it all out, and they were just supposed to provide us with the updates. So we will look back. I would ask the chief of staff to please provide us with an update of that,
Yeah.
even after the meeting,
Yeah.
not waiting for the next meeting.
Um,
Walt.
Okay. I think, you know, you guys understand you have a lot of work to get done, and so there'll be a, you know, a lot of questions coming back up at the next meeting. So keep working on it. All right. Do we have anything else for Derby at this time?
Not on the, maybe on the audit side, maybe on the budget side.
Okay, go ahead.
In the budget, it doesn't give us any assumptions at all. It just is a list of all of the accounts, and it doesn't tell us really, you know, if you wanted to know based on, you know, salaries, benefits by object is what I would call it versus just the departmentals. It would be helpful if we had that, and then we could have also what your assumptions are. As you had mentioned, well, you mentioned that the 24 has a 99% collection rate, but I think I heard that you year to date were collecting at, I thought I heard you say 95, but your memo says 97. So that means you're stretching your budget to revenue that could not be achievable. And so I would be very cautious of that, Mayor. I would be cautious of that for you. And you want your results to hit the mark. So it would be helpful if we knew what your assumptions were.
The report that you have is the report that the financial system allows us to create. That's the report that we work with the vote on.
But there could be a memo that you provide in front of this that tells me how you built this budget. Did you provide it with a 2% salary increase base? What is your mill rate base increase? So there's assumptions that you build every time that's standard budgeting, right?
Yeah, I agree. And they're there. I didn't understand that's what you were looking for.
They're not provided.
I
right?
understand that.
No, some people have a nice mayor's packet that gives you all of the information, and there's no story that goes with your budget.
Yeah, I think that's something we should look at developing for all towns. What assumptions we want to know. I mean, honestly, I would not be revealing salary increase assumptions.
Okay.
Contract negotiations. But things like the tax collection rate, use of fund balance, other key revenue items, you know, any deviations where the increase, you know, if the revenue or expenses are a certain percentage of their budget, or if the increase is deviating from the norm, you know, what the reasons are. So I think we should work as a committee to put those kind of things together for information that we would want from anybody. There's a lot of things we keep coming back to, asking everybody. So.
But if you had, like in last year, you had a contract that got resolved, you would want to call out that you've already negotiated that and it's an increase over the prior year, correct?
Yes, if we.
Yes, those are things that we do talk about with the tax board when we do our budget presentation.
So do you have a presentation that really goes with this?
No,
that
it's a verbal
maybe
thing.
you didn't share? Okay.
No.
Do you develop a message from the mayor?
Yes.
Those kind of things would be useful to share.
We have a general message that the mayor provides, and then when his budget is presented, the finance director goes over different assumptions and how the budget was put together, answers questions from the vote members, that kind of a thing.
Okay. All right, anything else, Kim?
No.
Okay. All right, thank you, and we will see you, what is it, next July?
May. No, wait a minute, June.
June, okay. We'll see you back in June, and looking to have some of these questions answered at that time. Hamden is our next guest.
Good morning.
Good morning. How's it going, Mayor?
Very well. And you?
Oh, it's okay.
All right. I have
so-
Kristen in here with me this morning, our finance director.
Mhm.
And we sent you a pretty large packet. And other than that, I just wanted to update you that on Monday, our legislative council passed our fiscal policy and procedures manual.
Well, that's nice.
It's the first update in probably 30 years.
That's fantastic.
I think the last time it was put together, the paper, you had to tear away the sides of the paper.
Green bar paper. I remember that. I was just a child, but I remember that. And where do you sent us some information on your budget? Has that been approved or?
No, we updated our charter last fall. And so included in that, we now have a finance commission. And so the finance commission reviews the budget, it makes recommendations to the legislative council. They're mostly looking at whether or not revenue and expense assumptions are realistic and sound. And then they make their recommendation to the legislative council for, I believe their recommendation is due April 27th. And then the council has their first meeting actually tonight to start reviewing my proposed budget. Their vote is due May 17th for the council approved budget.
Okay. I noticed in your letter, you are getting a scale at your transfer station.
We have a scale.
Uh-huh.
We've had it since, I think, 2015 or so. And no one has really been able to get it up and running. We believe that beginning of May or so, it will be up and running. We have put together a fee structure that has been approved by the council. We have the hardware and software ready to install. It has been quite the process, but we are kind of at the finish line right now.
And you're charging just for commercial?
It is for commercial and town residents. So the way it works is that if you have less than 200 pounds of bulky waste, it's no charge. And then above the 200, we have a smaller fee. And then if you go even higher, then we charge 10 cents per pound. It's approximately that. It's been a while since I've looked at those numbers.
Yep. Well, that'll be interesting to see how that works out for you, and how that impacts your actual solid waste fees, and seeing if people start diverting, or if it helps your budget.
Yeah, I'm really hopeful that we've had a lot of people come to the transfer station with like large scale cleanouts. And so we're really hoping that they go somewhere else.
Okay. Here's my list. Becky, do you have any questions?
No, I don't, Kate.
Mike?
Just any further update in regards to the ARPA funds being allocated and approved for the community center?
We have a meeting, we should have a meeting on the 24th of this month for the council to vote out a resolution with a budget for ARPA. And so we are having a lot of conversations with council members, and we're hopeful that the $15 million that we're requesting from ARPA for the community center will be in there. And then the remaining $3 million will be kind of some smaller projects to spread around town.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Diane?
I'm good.
Tony?
Yes, actually, on a side note, when we put a scale in a few years back, our bulky waste in particular went down rather significantly, and so much so that it paid for the scale. So hopefully you have a similar experience.
I hope so. Thank you.
My question is about, thanks for the letting us know about the financial policies. That's great news. I think that's really great. My question is about police private duty. It came up in the previous discussion, and I was just curious, how do you run your private duty, and is that through the general fund, or do you have a separate fund for that? And how's that going in terms of collections? And
we do run it through the general fund. We had one year where it was called out in our audit that we weren't receiving the funding from the third-party contractors. We're doing very well this year, so we are receiving more in revenue than we are paying out in expenses.
Do you have a process to identify contractors that are not paying, and a way to address that in terms of either not allowing for private duty until they are paid, or sort of keeping track of that? I know it can get out of control quickly.
So we bill through finance, yes. And I think that we can always improve on the way that we do that, and we've actually been talking about that a little bit. And we are also considering a new fee through our traffic division, where anytime the road gets opened up, we charge a permit fee. And I think that can also help us with the extra duty piece of it.
Do you charge some kind of, oh, okay. Do you charge some kind of like an admin fee for any related costs that maybe?
We do.
You do, okay.
Yeah, so we charge about 25% extra for extra duty. And so we're making money on the extra duty. But if we're not collecting the revenues, then we obviously are not making that money. So we're pretty careful about making sure that we're talking to the third parties and getting those revenues.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Kim?
Yes, I wanted to just touch upon last time you had brought us up to date on a significant audit finding that you had with the federal single audit, and you were working on that. And I just wanted to hear an update on that finding. Oh, look at her. She's smiling. She must have some great news for me.
So we're doing really well, actually. The financial policies and procedures were part of our audit, and so we have gotten that passed. We also have policies and procedures for our CDBG, the Community Development Block Grant, and so we have put all of those together, submitted things to HUD. We have all of our amendments approved through HUD so that we can start spending down. And so our finding was really about how we were not spending down on our CDBG, and we didn't have the policies and procedures in place. It was kind of a mess when I got in here, and we weren't, the town had not been spending down CDBG, and we really needed to get the policies in place so that we could spend it down effectively and know how to spend effectively. So I feel like we're in a really good place now, and we've staffed up a little bit and trying to staff up more to run CDBG effectively.
Yeah, you had said, I think you hired or were in the process of hiring a grant person.
We have a grant person. She started with the town last fall, and she's been amazing and has more than paid for herself. We've gotten significant grants over here.
Fantastic.
Anything else, Kim?
I hope that you're getting started and doing some planning on your FY23 audit.
Yes.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yes, we're waiting
Hi,
right
Curtis.
now. Hi, hello, everybody. Commission. Yes, we're in constant communication with our auditor and preparing our things, our reports. So yes.
Great.
So I have one more thing. I noted in the audit, the report, I don't know what is it, management, MD&A, but that you had some bonding projects with outstanding appropriations after the project was completed. Have you, as part of your fiscal policies and procedures, have you put in a procedure to review the status of capital projects and rescind appropriations where appropriate? Or will you?
We are definitely planning to do that. So some of the more significant projects that we have are through the Board of Education. And, you know, there are a few that were bonded a few years ago, and some of those projects have totally changed, not going through. And so we're working with the Board of Education to make sure that we don't want to surprise them by just taking the project back. But, you know, there's one specific project that's significant and it's authorized and issued. And so we have to deal with that a little differently than another project where it was just authorized but not issued.
Okay. Okay. All right. Anything else, Hamden? All right. I think you guys are really making terrific progress. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And last but not least, Plymouth. We should like reverse the alphabetical order sometime, let them go first.
And
Hi.
Kate, just for the, I'm sorry, just for the record, the town of Plymouth is a client of my firm.
Yes, thank you. All right.
Hi.
Hi, how are you, Grace?
I'm good. I'm here with Vicky Carey,
Hello.
our co-chair of the Board of Finance. The mayor had a conflict. Unfortunately, he apparently didn't receive the meeting invites. It wasn't on his calendar. He's gonna try to make it in if he can.
I thought I'd seen him in here.
Huh?
I thought I'd seen him in here before.
I did see him
Maybe
too.
he popped in and he had to go into his meeting now. I know that. I don't know if he might have just left it on. Our auditors are here though.
Okay.
Yeah, hi everyone.
Santo Carta.
Okay, so then, so where do we stand with your 22 audit?
So I guess I'll start, and then if you guys want to direct any questions to me or Grace. But my name is Santo Carta. I'm with CLA, and as far as the 22 audit goes, I anticipate a draft being complete by the end of the day today. At that point, Grace will be. I'm going to give Grace a couple days to complete the MD&A, and at that point, let's say Friday for a quick timeline, we'll submit it to our second review process. That takes about a week, so probably by next Friday we'll get it back, and then that'll give us another week to address the comments and issue statements. So I'm thinking around the 5th for issuance on this.
May 5th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Might be sooner if the comments are on the lighter end. The comments on the heavier end, 5th. But I think by the 5th is a reasonable date.
Okay. And are you, I guess, what's our outlook for, you know, with what you've seen in 22? Do we have hopes that when 23 ends, you'll be able to get that 23 audit done on time?
I guess that would be our Grace. I mean, I think being audit ready in January and being audit ready in November are two different things. It's a little harder to move time around for our staff if they aren't 100% ready. So that'll probably just be, I don't know if Grace, if you want to chime in, do you think you can be ready by like our scheduled time?
Yes, yeah, that's definitely the plan. As I mentioned in my report to MFAC, we are currently all caught up with recording all our transactions. We are currently working on March bank reconciliations, so we're caught up on that. So yes, we will be ready by even if it's possible. I'm thinking we could be ready by like September, October. Oh, you're talking about November, Santo, but we could talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the earlier the better, Grace. So
yeah,
yeah,
I mean, if we could schedule it for September or October, I think we'd be much better off.
I agree.
So
Okay.
the plan is to be on time, to have our audit for 23 on time.
Okay.
That'd be fantastic.
Yes, it would be. How are you expecting to end the year for fiscal 22? I'm sorry, for fiscal 23?
Well, based on our projections, perhaps a slight deficit of maybe like 60,000, but you know, that's yet to be seen.
Okay. And where are you in your budget approval process for 24?
We had our tri-board meeting and presented it to the town council on Monday, this past Monday. And the Board of Finance decided to increase the Board of Ed's budget to the requested 4.3%, which threw the overall budget over it to 3.57% increase, which triggers a referendum according to our charter. So the referendum is scheduled for April 29th. And if the budget proposal passes, then we're done. If not, it goes back to town council. Their town council meeting is May 3rd. And by May 3rd, we will have a budget passed.
Okay.
So the proposed budget that I sent to you last week has changed.
Okay.
The Board of Ed line changed. Everything else is the same. Just the Board of Ed line was increased. Another 320,000, I think it was.
All righty. Okay. Mike, do you have questions?
Just Grace, I noted in the proposed headcount summary, the controller's office is going from a budgeted staffing level of 3 to 4.
Correct.
That additional position is for?
It's for a staff accountant. It's for another staff accountant.
Okay, excellent. Okay.
So, and we believe that based on our current situation, because we've had a temp in that position since October. And so, as I said, we're caught up now. So a staff of, 2 staff accountants, our payroll, payables clerk, and myself seems to be the right size.
Okay. All right, that's great.
Diane?
Grace, can you just summarize the ARPA funding? And right now it looks like you have 800,000 roughly remaining on that. What the plan is, will that all be obligated by the deadline?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. The ARPA committee meets monthly and they're presenting, they're presented with projects and the whole amount will be committed. Our process is it goes to the ARPA committee. The ARPA committee sends it to the Board of Finance. The Board of Finance approves it and the town council passes it.
And it looks like the majority are for town projects?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tony?
I have a question on your report. Make sure I'm understanding this. It's on your general fund revenues and expenditure summary. What's the projected column? It's got amended budget and then projected. I was looking at particularly interest income, which I always expect to see higher, because of the rates have increased so much. But it looks like they're both at 37.5. Something I'm missing on this? You see
Yeah, no, we're projecting to receive what we've budgeted in interest income.
But Tony's got a good point. Interest rates have been tremendous. I'm surprised you're not looking at.
Well, the actual is 259. That's why I'm confused.
Hold on, let me just look at something.
Okay. I don't know if that probably the projected should be, closer. Because I was wondering if that had any impact on that 60,000.
Yeah, so that should be higher.
Higher, okay. So hopefully that'll maybe account for the deficit.
60,000, it definitely would. Yeah, it would.
Okay.
Thanks for pointing that out.
Okay,
Please
sure.
Catch.
Yeah.
May I piggyback before somebody else goes over? Is that a sign that the entries are not completed?
No, that's just the projections. The actual numbers are the entries.
Okay.
I'm curious as to why you don't think you'll get more in fiscal 24.
I'm sorry, repeat the question.
I think you're selling yourself short for fiscal 24, but it's probably too late to change that.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, Tony.
That's okay. I was gonna, good point about 24. That was my follow-up. He stole my thunder there.
Sorry.
Okay.
I tried to not ask all the questions today.
Point taken. I will keep that in mind for 25, I guess, budget.
Or 24 when it doesn't get approved, or you get pushed back.
Yeah.
There's your back pocket.
There you
right.
go. Good
That's right.
idea. Good idea.
I'm all set other than that. Thank you.
Okay. Kim?
I'm surprised that you push forth with a deficit of 60,000. I would try to find a way to close that no matter what, unless you're trying to put on a scare or something. It's always an impression when somebody puts out a deficit, and so you look at the motive behind that as to, okay, can I just hold up expenditures for the next 2 months and close that gap, or does somebody really want to present out that they have a deficit? There's always messaging that goes with that. So for myself, I'm the conservative one, and I would close a gap. I wouldn't want a deficit to go out under my name. So I would suggest that you close the gap. And I think that Tony's already found your money already to do that.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else, Kim?
No, I'm glad to hear that they're moving along in the audit side of it. That makes me happy. And that they're considering more staff in their areas so that they can get caught up and stay caught up.
Yeah, I was happy to hear that you're caught up with your transactions, including your bank, that you're pretty current on your bank recs. That's really good progress.
The mayor is arriving right now.
Okay.
Hi, Mayor. We were just talking about your town. Oh, we can't hear you.
You're muted.
There we go.
All right. Sorry. My apologies. I had a personnel matter that I had to deal with, so I apologize for the late appearance.
That's quite all right. We understand that happens. We were just saying, we're pleased with some of the progress we're seeing in terms of your being caught up on your transactions and your bank reconciliations. And we suggested that you might have some more revenue available with your investment income. Looks like the estimates are a little low. All right, did we have anything else for Plymouth?
Can I just, you may have already discussed it, but there was a couple of highlights that I had that I wanted to.
Sure. Go ahead.
I don't know if they spoke about our budget meeting that we just had. We are going to referendum. The proposed budget that the Board of Finance brought forward was at 3.57% increase, which in Plymouth triggers a referendum. Anything over 3% automatic referendum. The current proposed budget does still include the additional staff for the finance department. However, if the referendum does fail, the budget immediately goes to the council, who have to adopt a budget of 3% increase or less. So there will be, if it does fail, there will be some cuts. I will do what I can to make sure that that position is not one of them. But ultimately, that would be out of my hands at that point. So we will do what we can with that. But I just wanted to clarify where our budget stands.
So that's on your percentage increase in expenditures?
Yes.
Okay.
Of expenditures, yes. Any increase of expenditures over 3% triggers a referendum and must be approved by the voters. The council has no authority to approve a budget over 3%.
That's very interesting. So you could have plenty of new revenue coming in and your tax rate actually going down, but your expenditures are the trigger.
That is correct. That is what our charter currently states. And it used to be that every budget had to be passed by referendum. And we had budgets that were like 2% increase that were failing. And we'd have 2 referendums that would fail, and it would go to the council, and the council would pass a budget very similar to what just failed at referendum twice. At our last charter revision, that was cut back to only 1 referendum, and only if the proposed budget was over 3%. So we don't have to have multiple votes on a budget that the council would pass anyway.
Okay. That's very interesting. It really is. Okay. Do we have anything else for Plymouth? Okay.
Maybe one other comment, if since we have the auditor with us, if you're seeing anything of findings that you need to bring to our attention. We do know that there was late reconciliations, and I'm sure you already know that as well. And if there's anything that you're finding.
Yeah, I think at this point, besides the late bank recs, which looked like Grace is caught up on, I know we're probably gonna have a small discussion on getting the Board of Ed reconciled to the town a little sooner, I think, because a lot of legwork involved there and trying to get them their GL kind of caught up with the towns.
Do you think they're properly staffed in the finance area? Because that's what we found here on the city side. Is the Board of Ed experiencing the same thing?
I think the Board of Ed is properly staffed. I don't think they're understaffed.
Okay.
It's maybe not understanding exactly what Grace needs, to get her GL to match.
They have a fairly new business manager as well. So we have a fairly new business manager and obviously at this point still a relatively new finance director. So I think there's been a little bit of a learning curve there.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go back to the minutes now that we have a quorum. Were there any changes or edits for the minutes? Okay, if not, can I get a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Oh,
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Tag.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Minutes have passed. Other business.
I just want to make a comment about the what we discussed about the information, like trend information and I regularly provide that in our budget process.
Yeah.
Debt fiscal indicators and fund balance information and grand list information, and I think people seem to really like it. I think it's really helpful.
Yeah. I think we can come up with some things that would be important particularly for people who are coming before us on a regular basis, that they need to inform us, and hopefully they will then share that with their residents. But those kind of things, that and the audit findings, to get what the audit findings were in the most recent audits and what the status is.
Yeah.
It's important that we get that, because honestly I can't go back to every
packet
and remember what the status was on each and every one of them. So we need to require that they do that for us.
And we do put it in the agenda, but we'll have to make sure that they provide us with a report. And I would thought that when we asked for, the ARPA that they would provide. Some towns provided a report and some just wanted to do a report out and really didn't give us much of nothing. And so that doesn't give you any idea of where they stood.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else?
Bill, did we have anything else on our agenda that you wanted to bring up?
No, we don't.
Where do we stand with a replacement for John Schuyler?
We don't have movement on that as of yet.
Okay. Have you
Well,
done
actually,
anything with my eventual replacement?
we don't have movement on that either. We haven't received any recommendations from anybody.
I gave you recommendations for my replacement.
I know that. Yes, you did.
All right.
Well, if any of the commissioners have for John, we had asked that before, but we haven't
received any thoughts.
What are the parameters on that, on John's?
We're looking for an audit firm.
It has to be an associate. It has to be a vendor type person, but yeah. And with an auditor, does it have to be somebody who has not got a client before us?
Well, like they could either it would be helpful if they know something about either, any audit firm is going to know about the internal controls, policies, procedures, your standard auditing practices. It would, and if we get one that does municipalities, well, I would propose that we don't get like some of the ones that do the heaviest that have to opine, that cannot speak every time they come forward, right?
Right.
that wouldn't be helpful for this group.
That's going to be a tough.
But there are a number of firms that do not do municipalities any longer.
Yeah, but my concern about when you say any longer, maybe if they did at some point, because it is a different animal, and to have somebody come in who's been auditing corporations, I don't know that they're going to have the right.
How about a firm that's previously audited a lot of municipalities, but maybe only has a handful of municipalities?
Yes, that works too. And in fact, Kate, no, I agree with you entirely. But there are a lot of firms out there that are still doing work with the state and work with municipalities, but it really could be like on the, the grant side of life, the state single or the federal single audit, but they're not doing the financials.
Okay. Maybe at the next GFOA meeting, we can put out a call or put, something on the message board too.
Okay. Well, we could, we do have some audit firms that are on our state contract that we could reach out to some of them. I know that OPM has done some work with some of those firms. Working with some municipalities, and they don't audit municipalities.
Or if there are any like recently retired from firms
good idea
that might be willing to join us, once every couple months.
Yep.
Just wondering, like, what is Jerry Paradis doing these days?
I do think that we reached out. I think his golf calendar is quite full.
All right. Well, we'll keep thinking about it.
But that is a good thought. That is a very good thought on a retiree.
All right.
Okay.
All right. If there's nothing else, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
Moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Sure. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Michael, can I meet with you for a minute? Mike?
Sure.
Perfect. After the recording stops.